So we were talking about some of the ways that food and taboos and politics intersect. And like I said, there are some articles there for you to read. But anything that is as tightly tied to identity and to humanity and survival is definitely going to intersect with politics. And who gets to decide who controls what, who gets to control the resource, who gets to set the rules, those are all political considerations, and many of them have spatial aspects. For example, the idea of bottled water and the right to water. Right? Should water be a human right, for example, that people should always have access to water? And if should water be commercialized? The fact that Nestle, the huge multi-conglomerate corporation, that they pump water out of aquifers in places like California and Michigan and all over the world. They pump water that is there, that could be being used for municipal use, for agricultural use. They pump the water out, don't pay very much to local governments, and then get to make a huge amount of profit selling it. Right? So we've got resources like water, we've got money involved, we have access and human rights involved. There's a whole lot of politics managing something like water. And I know water's not food, but it's obviously related. Right? This is a recent article just from a couple weeks ago about hunters and organic farmers becoming allies about the right to food and about people's access to food, and food scarcity being an increasing issue of food affordability, right, and poverty levels. And so who should get access to food resources, what happens when food is scarce, and what kind of rules should there be for the way food is grown and the way that food is hunted. Another place that geography and food and politics intersect is around who produces the food and how those people are being treated. A huge amount of the chocolate that we eat is actually produced by child laborers. And there is increasing pressure on corporations like Mars and Nestle and Hershey to grow the cocoa ethically. And to stop treating people in basically slave conditions. And so that's a place where politics intersects with food. And there are places where cocoa is grown, where it is grown ethically. And there are places where, unfortunately, child labor and human rights abuses are still rampant. Also, food can be a massive political symbol. Something like apple pie, right? It's as American as apple pie. That has become a political symbol. And when there was some debate about, there was some conflict between the French and the United States a few years ago, people stopped calling things French toast or French fries and calling them things like freedom fries, for example, right? That kind of political struggle becoming a political symbol. Food becoming a political symbol, excuse me. But this article I've actually linked for you below, of Mao Zedong got a basket with mangoes in it. And he didn't want the mangoes, and so he gave the mangoes away, and it became almost a religious symbol for people that they were allowed to see this mango and to touch the mango. So food can become a huge political symbol linked to identity and linked to politics. So I have collected a couple of articles for you. I think there's three. One relates to soft power, and soft power is an increasing force in our globalized world where countries are interconnected and we are consuming an awful lot of the same movies and music and food. And rather than trying to pressure a country through force, right, using military force or using pressure, more and more countries are building connections through popular culture and through friendly means. And that is called soft power. Because you're trying to attract people to spend money on your products or to come and travel to your country through tourism, to promote a positive image of you in the world. That is an increasing part of the world economy and the way that different cultures connect. And food ties very much into soft power. And I have an article for you here about the way Thailand went around creating a better image of itself. They made themselves more visible on the world stage by creating a network of restaurants around the world, and especially in the United States. There's a huge number of Thai restaurants because there is an effort from the Thai government to help people go around the world and start a Thai restaurant to promote Thailand and its culture and its food. So that's an official government policy for that. So that article is waiting for you. There's also an article about political protest in Russia and the way that vegans are using food as a form of protest. So there's politics there and protest. And as I said, I also found the article for you about Mao Zedong and the mangoes that he gifted people. So those are all waiting for you to read about intersections between politics and food and geography. And after you read those and you see some of the different ways that these three things intersect, part of what you are going to be doing this week for the discussion and the response paper is finding your own article about politics, geography, and food. And in the article that you find, you just need to find an article on the internet, right, from any reputable news source. And this example can be from anywhere in the world. It can be in the past, though I would like it to not be ancient, but it can be anywhere in the world. It needs obviously to have a spatial aspect, so something about growing food or resources. You can do water, for example. You don't just have to do food. Like Thai food or a mango. It can have something to do with diffusion or borders or access, all of those different things. But your article needs to have a spatial aspect in the way that it's talking about food and politics. You're going to discuss and critique the article in your response paper. Nope, I'm sorry, I typed that wrong. You're going to discuss and critique one of those three articles that I've put up for you in your response paper. You are going to find a different article, an article that just you have found, and then you're going to share that in the discussion. So I will fix that slide. So you're going to, for the response paper, you are going to analyze one of the three articles that I give you. For the discussion, that is what you're going to find the article for yourself about politics, geography, and food. Okay? All right, so I will talk to you in the discussion. Have a great week.